So good evening to everybody. We are just waiting for the last guests and the speaker to conclude the procedures of accreditation. And as soon as they join us here, we can start. We hope it will take just a few minutes. Okay, so good evening to everyone. We will start now, even if we are still waiting for the accreditation of speakers. So we are waiting for this, but I think in the meanwhile we should start because it's quite late. So first of all, I would like to thank all the guests that have joined us here, because it's very important for us to hear these voices. So I will try to be very short in the introduction in order to leave more space to the voices that will speak about the situation. And for us, it was very important to give a stage to those voices, thinking about what the silence that has been about these attacks on the mainstream medias. And it was also important to host this event inside the parliament because we think it's absolutely shameful, the behavior of the EU and of the national states that cooperate, not only stay in silence, but even cooperate in a diplomatic way and also in an economical way with the Syrian government. It's a government that is composed of jihadists and that is attacking the northeast of Syria, and we think it's very shameful that Ursula von der Leyen visited Damascus while the attacks were already going on the 9th of January, and she didn't only visit, but she also brought a gift to Shara, a promise of 620 million for the transition of Syria. And we think that democratic confederalism must be defended for three main reasons. It's very important to defend this revolution, that it's the biggest revolution of our times. First of all, the main characteristic is the pluralism, that is the proposal of peace in a world that is day by day more full of nationalism, of racism. We think that this pacific cooperation between different people, different cultures, different language, it's an example not only for the region, but it's an example for the entire world today. And secondly, the empowerment of women in the autonomous administration, it's something that is absolutely impressive. And the Syrian government, on the other hand, doesn't hesitate to say that women must not have positions of power inside the army, must not do politics. And what this revolution showed, it's the opposite. So this is the empowerment of women. It's something that is very impressive and that must be defended. And also this is an example all over the world. And finally, there is the capacity of a political imaginations that goes beyond the nation state. It's something that is really needed in this world where it's a stronger and stronger nationalism and war. And so this is the other characteristic of this revolution for which we have to defend it. All this, it's unbearable for the Syrian jihadist government, but also for the Turkish authoritarian regime. And that's why they are attacking the autonomous administration. But it's also unbearable for imperialistic powers that back in the days profited of the contribution of the Kurds in fighting the Islamic State, and now they not only remain in silence, but they also cooperate with the states that are attacking democratic confederalism. And that's exactly why we need to defend it and stand up for the autonomous administration. So now I would like to give the floor to the first speaker, is Shiyar Ali, a representative of the autonomous administration to Europe. And he will speak in Kurdish, and there will be a translation.
دما خوش به از نویم شیار علی از نونر خسریا دموکراتیک روجاوای کردستان سوریا اروپا.
So first, we would like to start by welcoming all of you tonight. This is Shiyar Ali. He's the representative of the Democratic Autonomous Administration of Northeast Syria to Europe.
از خوازم پرت پیاما گلی خوب دم پیکاتی دی کرتاسی از نخوازم دریشکم سلاوی وا گرم ج گلکی ایرو گو کدا کمازن دا ایرو جی دروشک خراب ده.
So I don't want to speak for very long, but to start off, I would like to send my warm greetings and the greetings of the Kurdish people to all of those that are with us here today. We are going through a period that is quite difficult, which we will discuss a little bit.
Kurda 50 سالی دبن رژیم باس ایش کمازن کشند و دوا 15 داوی دجی کدا کمازن دا.
So the Kurdish people lived for 50 years under great difficulty during the Ba'ath regime in Syria. And we can see now in the last 15 years, a great effort that has been given by the Kurdish people of Syria.
ما قریب 15 سالا دا ام هرما که بپارزن سیستم که پررنگ تیدا ما فیجنه و دموکراتی آواک.
So in the last 15 years, we've seen how in the region of Northeast Syria, we've been able to defend the region and to create a situation, an atmosphere in the region that is one of, that is multicultural, multicolorful, that is one of women's rights and coexistence of peoples.
ما غینی آواک کرنه ما سوریا پاراست ما دنیا پاراست ما بدلکی مازن جدا نزدیک 12,000 شهید و 27,000 بریندار ایگو بشک جلاشی خدا بو دجی تروره.
So in this period, we protected Syria, we protected the world. Over 12,000 of our friends and comrades were martyred in this struggle, and 27,000 were wounded.
دنیا هم کی دگو اون انسان باش.
The whole world said, these are good people.
از ویجوه کلی که از خوازم پیاما توبانی سرناوه 5 میلیون انسان گل باکر روجلات سوری جیان دکرن.
So now I would like to give a message on behalf of Kobane and the 5 million people that are living in northeastern Syria.
ایرو ده چنبرکا گرانده ایرو صدا شهیدان ایرو لکوبانی تنه نزدیک 140,000 انسان به آب به کهربا و بن سرمایه ده.
So we are now facing a very difficult situation, one where hundreds have been martyred again in the recent conflict, one where more than 140,000 people in Kobane are in a situation without electricity, water, or other basic resources.
نزدیک 65,000 خواندوان ما ایرو به خواندن مدرسه وی خلق تیده سرمایه و جبرگو باز دانه شر.
In the region, we also have more than 65,000 students that are now out of school due to the spreading of the conflict, the war that has been started due to the cold and not being able to continue with their studies in this context.
سرگو د سالا داویدا بهروانا رژیمه دنیای حمکی گوش بوی دیالوگ کار کن ما 15 سالاش بوی دیالوگ کار کر و سالا داویدا جی مج بوی دیالوگ کار کر ما دسته خود ریش کر ما هفت پیمان جی امضا کرم شامره.
So for 15 years now, we've been working towards creating spaces for dialogue. And in the last year, we have done the same. We extended our hand to create a situation of dialogue in Syria.
ایرو گله کوبانی گله قامشلو حسچاد بیجه دبی او کسی گو مهمبری شرکر مشکان ما ترور تکبر ایرو دنیا پشتاوه دگره و بیدنگا و ما بتنه هشتیا.
So particularly, I say this in thinking about the people of Kobane, of Kamishlo. There's a feeling that those that we fought against, now the world is supporting. Those that we fought against in the fight against terrorism, now the world has their back. And it's a feeling of being abandoned.
ام وقتا کی ام باش بون لی ایرو شام باشتره بیک فکری کی رادیکال دخوازه همکا بیک رنگی بیک بریار گو سوریا همکی بخی ولاتا کی تیدا نه رنگ جنه بمینه نه رنگ پیک هاتیا بمینه نه رنگ دموکراسی بمینه.
So now we see a situation where Damascus has taken a radical stance, one where there would only be one decision-making power, one center, one where there would be no space for women's rights, no space for organized structures of society, no space for democracy.
مگو دیالوگ وی ایریشی علویا کر کم کجی چکر مگوش بوی دیالوگ ایریشی سویدا کر کم کجی سر دروزا چکر مگو دیالوگ ایرو ایریشی کردا و کوبانیت که و زارو که کوبانی قتل دکه و دنیا بیدنگا پیام ما او جبوی سکنان ناوینا.
So in moments where we tried to insist on dialogue, they attacked and committed massacres against the Alawite populations. In moments where we tried again to insist on dialogue, we saw again transitional governments attacking Druze populations in the south. Again, we insisted on dialogue, and now they're attacking Kobane, and we see children dying of the cold and ongoing attacks against our people in Kobane and other cities. And so this is my message today.
پیام خلق کوبانی و قامشلو حسچا و دیرکه یک سکنان نشر دو دیالوگ لی بهوریا مبشامه نای دوی گارانتی هبن گارانتی نه بس بیجن گرک اون بکن گارانتی نه اون هر نشامه وندرلاین هر ملیونا یورو بده شامه جبوی مبکوجه ام گارانتیات خوازن جبوی اف پروسس دیالوگ سرکوه ناو نه بهوریا مبشامته نه بهوریا ما بدنیای جیدته امی دیسا بیجن به دوست گل کرد نینا و او عرضه که پیدا که جبوی دیسا ترور پیش کوه و میلیون انسان پوچبر ببن و دیسا امی روبرو بر تراجیدی که مزن اینا همبری هف و هنگی جی ایدا درنگا.
So then this is my message on behalf of the people of Kobane, of Derik, of Kamishlo, of other cities of northeastern Syria. That this war should be ended, that we call for the end of this war, that we call for a return to dialogue and for guarantees. And guarantees not in the sense of von der Leyen coming and promising money to the al-Shara transitional government that is then used against us and is used to massacre Kurdish civilians. Guarantees for actual success. We're not in a position where we have trust in the transitional government in Damascus, and neither do we have trust necessarily in great powers coming from the outside. But what we see at the moment is a situation where the risk of, on this land, terrorist forces gaining in strength again, migration and forced displacements again increasing, and a great tragedy developing. And so in this sense, we call to all the friends of the Kurdish people to not stay silent and to take an active stance on this topic and showing support and solidarity for the Kurdish people of Rojava and northeastern Syria.
جبرويجي أفجهم إيرو لي برجرينجا جو رول بليزه هبونا وإيرو الفيرو ما جهداريت كن برجرينجا جو ناري كاربن جبوي أف جينوسايد بسكنة جبوي سوريا كانوش حمى بيكاتيارا جبوي بروسيسكي سياسي جدي دس بيكي أزجارة كدي وحمس لاف دكم وسباسيتكم.
So for this reason, the place that we're in today is important, that it takes an active stance in taking a decision and helping to bring about an end to this war. And we thank you all again for being here with us tonight to be able to have this discussion together and to insist on an end to this conflict so that we can find a peaceful solution through dialogue and one in the benefit of all of the peoples of Syria. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiyar. Now, I introduce Özlem Demirel, who is an MEP from the Linke.
Thank you, Ilaria. Thank you, comrades. Dear guest, I'm very happy to be together with you today and to discuss about this important issue. First of all, let me apologize that we don't have simultaneously translation like we have normally in the parliament. It was not possible to have all this in the short time because the parliament's work structure is not working like we hope all the times. And it was quite difficult for us to get the room for today. But it was very important for us three who invited from Sinistra, Italiana, from Danish, Red-Green Alliance and the German Die Linke to have this conference together and to come together with you to talk about what is happening in Syria, especially in Rojava these days and in all the Middle East. We are thinking that this is important because it's our responsibility also from the European side to be not silent about what is happening, because we all know that the European Union and other big countries in this world stay silent now in this moment where the project, where the revolution of Rojava is attacked by jihadist militias. And we know that the European Union is not just silent. We also know that the European Union and the Commission's president, Madame von der Leyen, was in Syria on that day when the attack started on the Syrian Democratic Forces in Aleppo. And now the most territories of Rojava are gone, and the militias of the Syrian government stands in front of the cities, main points where the Kurds have their roots since a lot of years, and they want to attack. By now, it's said that there is a ceasefire, but we all know that the ceasefire is not real ceasefire. And there is always a situation where there are attacks, where there are people murdered. And what we call in this situation is that the troops should be withdrawn by now immediately. It's not okay to say we have a ceasefire, but stand with the group there, stand. This does not mean anything else than standing able to attack in every moment these areas, killing Kurds and destroying the real achievements the democratic forces, the Kurds forces had achieved in Rojava. It is our responsibility also as MEPs of this parliament not to be silent about what the Commission and our member states are doing, because we all know that our member states are saying to the US, who let al-Shara attack the Kurds, that they are in line. This is the message. This was the message from President Macron. And this is what Germany is doing when they are saying that al-Shara is still invited to Germany. And the only aim they are trying to achieve with this is to send Syrian refugees back and to have possibilities to get into Syria with investments and economical aims. And we don't accept that human rights violations happened for this geopolitical and economical interest of the big countries in the West. Self-determination, is that what the Kurds ask for? Self-determination, and they want it in a form of a united Syria and self-administration or self-governance. I don't understand why the al-Sharaa regime is not accepting this situation of self-administration, but accepting that other areas in the south could go to Israel. This is sounding very cynical to me. Syria was a multi-ethnical state. We know that in the last year, Alevites had been attacked. We know that in the last year, Druse had been attacked. And now they want to attack the Kurds. They want to massacre, and they want to say that they don't accept autonomous regions in Syria. How could it be that there should be a peace process in Syria without regarding the different ethnical, national, religious minorities in this country? This is not possible. So we would have liked to hear Frau von der Leyen, Madame von der Leyen going to Syria and saying, if you want to have a peace process in Syria, you have to have a constitution where all of the people of Syria, and these are different national groups, these are different religious groups, has their equal rights and have the possibility of political equality. It's not just about individual rights of the people there, but also the collective rights of the Kurds in this area. Dear friends, there you can find some reports built up by the Syrian Democratic Forces on the attacks on the last weeks and from the Kurdish National Congress, and I want to invite you to take this. Let me say, as someone who has also her familiar roots in Kurdistan, it is always like this that Kurdish people said one slogan, and the slogan was saying, Berhudan Giani. And Berhudan Giani meant for the Kurds in the past and also today that life can just happen through resistance. And this is what we are seeing now in Rojava. And I think it should be our aim from Europe to support this resistance and to make it clear to our governments that it's not acceptable, that they want to sell out the right of self-determination of the Kurds, the equal rights of every people of Syria for their own interest. So I hope that the resistance in Kobani, that the resistance in Rojava will show the world that peoples united and fighting will win. And this is my hope. And I think the people in Rojava does need our help, does need that we broke the silence of the governments in the Western areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Özlem. Now I introduce Eyyup Faruk Doru from the DEM-PARTI.
Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais aussi remercier nos députés qui sont présents aussi du Parlement européen qui ont fait possible de réunir cette réunion, de parler de la situation dans cette région. Malheureusement, nous avons une situation qu'il y a justement en direct, il y a une massacre contre le peuple kurde, mais aussi ils ont commencé avec des autres. Je pense que les gens comprennent le français, non? No? Okay.
No. Okay. So to translate, yeah, so to start off by thanking first the deputies for organizing this meeting here today and for their words as well. It's something that we find very important. And what we see at the moment happening is massacres against Kurdish populations in the north and east of Syria.
Oui, aussi il y a une guerre contre le projet politique du peuple kurde dans cette région, car nous connaissons les États dans la région, ils sont tous des États antidémocratiques. Même certains, ils ont proclamé d'être républiques. On connaît que la Turquie aussi, qui est déjà plusieurs fois condamnée par le Conseil de l'Europe, par l'Union européenne, sont des États vraiment antidémocratiques dans la région.
So what we see also unfolding is a war against the political project of the Kurdish society, and an anti-democratic project that is taking shape. And we know that many of the states in the region have this very anti-democratic character. The Turkish state, for example, Turkey has been on multiple occasions criticized by the European Union, by other international institutions for democratic backsliding and anti-democratic character.
Et cette guerre contre le peuple kurde, cette guerre qui est déclarée contre le peuple kurde, c'est déclaré par une alliance de la Turquie, l'Arabie saoudite, Qatar et le régime fasciste ou bien djihadiste actuel de la Syrie.
And so we see now this war that is unfolding against the Kurdish people is waged through an alliance between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and is being waged against the Kurdish people of Syria, also in collaboration with the Syrian transitional government and Syrian authorities.
Les pensées politiques aussi d'éliminer le peuple kurde avant aussi la situation des Alaouites, aussi la situation des autres minorités ethniques comme Druse, c'est un projet politique aussi qui est piloté par la Turquie, parce que les Turcs veulent un État, une langue et un peuple.
So this political project of the elimination of the Kurdish people, like what we've seen in terms of massacres of the Alawites and other minorities in Syria, is one that is very much piloted by Turkey in its approach of having one state, one nation, one ethnicity, one religion.
La méthode d'isolation que nous connaissons aussi, les massacres qu'ils ont fait contre notre ville de Afrin, couper l'eau, couper l'électricité, isoler toute la population d'une façon de condamner à la mort et devant la presse internationale. Malheureusement, nous sommes en train de revivre cette situation de nouveau dans la région de Kobane et de Kamishlo.
So this method of isolation, it's something that we saw already happening in Afrin a few years ago, where the city was cut off from water, electricity, and other resources, isolated and condemned to a slow death in front of the international press. And it's something that we are seeing in actuality happening again now in the city of Kobane and other cities within the region.
Donc moi je représente un parti politique qui est quand même troisième force politique en Turquie, qui est la première force dans la région du Kurdistan. Mais nous avons essayé des manifestations de protester cette situation inhumaine. Et il y a plusieurs de nos députés, ils ont été agressés. Il y a des gens qui ont été arrêtés, torturés devant les médias turcs. Et ça, c'est cette situation politique actuelle dans laquelle on vit en Turquie actuellement.
So our colleague here represents the DEM-PARTI, which is the third largest political party in Turkey. It's the largest political force within Kurdish regions in Turkey, and what we talk about is North Kurdistan. And if we look in the last days, there's been multiple demonstrations organized where our deputies also have been harassed, where people have experienced torture at the hands of the authorities, and all of this in front of the Turkish media and international press.
Donc, je pense qu'il y a deux projets politiques dans la région. L'une qui est celle aussi pilotée par les Kurdes, par les minorités ethniques et tous les peuples qui vivent dans cette région. C'est un projet de la démocratie, c'est un projet qui aussi regarde la liberté des femmes, la liberté de tous les peuples qui vivent dans cette région, aux peuples minorisés, comme on peut dire, parce que moi, je n'aime pas de nommer minorités ethniques, ce sont des peuples qui sont minorisés, mais aussi ces deux projets politiques que nous l'appelons démocratie locale ou démocratie directe ou confédéralisme démocratique. Contre ce projet, il y a le projet de Shara qui veut créer un système de charia qui est soutenu par la Turquie. Donc, l'Europe doit décider à quel projet politique doit soutenir. Merci.
So in reality, we see two political projects being existing at the same time within the region. One, which is the political project of minority groups of Kurds, and colleague says not to use the term minority itself, but peoples that are considered as such. which is the project of democracy, of the freedom of women and peoples of the region. It can be discussed as a project of democratic confederalism, of local democracy, direct democracy. And against this, we see a project which is represented by Al-Shara, and with the support of Turkey, of Sharia law, and imposing this kind of political project on the peoples of the region. And so this is what my colleague would like to say tonight, and thanks you all.
Thank you very much, Eyyup. Now I introduce Sinan Önal, Foreign Relations Commission of Kurdistan National Congress.
Thank you very much. Yes, actually, to begin with, dear very great friends, comrades, partners in solidarity, and very great friends from Sinistra, Italia, dear Ilaria, dear Özlem of the Linke, and this dear pair. Thank you very much for this great event you have urgently organized for all of us, for raising urgent awareness about how to defend this unique revolution in Syria, and can be a model for the salvation and liberation of all these ancient fertile crescent, so-called Middle East. That's why it's very important to be with each other together here. And actually, our initiatives here matters not symbolically. We've been here together talking and exchanging the words, but it's quite much politically and concretely important that if we can turn this initiative into a practice, both in the halls, in the rooms of this parliament, in our government structures that we belong to, and for sure, definitely in the squares. In the squares, like millions of people have been pouring in the squares, even in the USA at the moment, against the Trump policies. So now the storm is already launched in the Middle East. After Palestinians in Gaza, now it is the turn for the Kurds for annihilating this revolution. We must make a stop, and we can do it. We do have that potential. Today I'm speaking on behalf of Kurdistan National Congress, which is based in Brussels as our headquarters, and we do have 3 main offices in Erbil of the South Kurdistan in Iraq, in Kurdistan Federation there, the capital city there, and the Qamishlo, the capital city of our beautiful northeast Syria, Rojava. And also we do have the same in Washington, D.C. That's why I can speak on behalf of a very broad spectrum of Kurdish political parties here, organizations, independent figures from all parts of Kurdistan, and this huge Kurdish diaspora. We gathered here urgently today, 27 January in EU Parliament, because what's unfolding in Western Kurdistan and Rojava is not a temporary escalation. It's an existential threat, which can very quickly and easily turn into a genocide, as massacres, ethnic cleansing, and all sorts of crimes against humanity that we had experienced it just a decade ago by the same ideologies perpetrators as ISIS had done in Shengal, in Sinjar, and then just a few months ago, what they have tried to do it, actually, they also did it in Rwaida with the Druse region and in this Mediterranean coast against the Alevites. So if I can shortly clarify what we have been living since January 6th, already both Shiyar and Faruk summarized. In these 3 weeks, particularly since the attacks that began in Kurdish neighborhoods of Aleppo, we have been witnessing the opening phase of a long-prepared military and political campaign aimed at dismantling a Kurdish existence and its main coexisting partners, Syriacs. Syriacs, for the first time in their whole story, had the opportunity to have their mother tongue education in a country, and it was in northeast Syria. The Armenians, the Christians, we call them as Mesihis in our mother tongue, the Circassians, and the Arabs also. And almost these 14 years of self-rule in Syria, northeast Syria, the Democratic Autonomous Administration of Northeast Syria. These attacks are formally carried out under the banner of the Syrian Transitional Government, but in reality, they are executed by jihadist militias. Just already both Özlem and the Ilaria told about this issue. And I would say that this banner of Syrian Transitional Government is only a little bit clearing the name of the ISIS. The ideology is the same, and almost the perpetrators are half the same, because all the ex-IS fighters are involved into these battalions that have been called as Al-Amsad, Hamza, Sultan Murad, and the others. Despite a declared 15-day ceasefire on last Sunday, 24 January, Syrian Transitional Government forces and their allied armed groups have violated it repeatedly and still violating it. In recent days, Kobani, the city that became the global symbol of all of our resistance against ISIS in 2014, has been brutally targeted. Humanitarian access is being deliberately restricted. Civilians have been killed. Infrastructure has been targeted. Even the babies and the children have lost their lives due to the lack of electricity and food in very cold winter of this year in the region. I'd like to draw kindly your attention to the issue of ceasefire that Özlem has just underlined. Let us be clear in this issue. These ceasefires that are systematically violated cannot be any more recognized as ceasefires. These are completely a cheating tactic of this government. They are tactical pauses. They try to use to consolidate, control, and prepare for further assaults. And what we have heard from the field, the whole borders of Kurdish majority regions have been filled with the tanks, artilleries, and tens of thousands of Syrian National Army fighters who are pro-ISIS militias, and the professional Turkish Army's special forces, and with their drones. Very dear comrades, please allow me to remind this respectful audience and the parliament again about Kobani of 2014. Kobani was liberated by the Kurdish people, the women, and the beautiful sons and daughters, the beautiful souls of this nation who have been resisting for at least a century. By the resistance, YPG and YPJ, the units of the Defense for the People and for the Women, but also with the support of great internationalist fighters and with the decisive air support of anti-ISIS coalition led by the United States during the Obama administration. From October 2014 to January 2015, Kobani became a turning point, proving the world that ISIS could be defeated by our joint forces. Today, almost the same date, Kobani is once again under a severe siege. It is a bitter irony that this time the attacks come from forces operating under the name of the so-called Syrian Transitional Government, backed by the Turkish state, recognized by the European Union, Commission, Council of Europe, USA, all this democratic Western globe. And we know that this government is composed with a part of former ISIS fighters, which has been rebranded and recycled under the name of STG. The same Turkish state that watched and indirectly at that time supported ISIS besieged Kobani in 2014, today is directly providing the drones, the weapons, the logistics, and the political and military cover to the forces attempting to annihilate the very city that symbolized the defeat of ISIS. This is tragic. This is quite much absurd. This is in no way acceptable. What we are witnessing today is an attempt to rebrand the ISIS ideology, reintegrate it into the international politics, extremist jihadist forces who are responsible for beheadings, ethnic cleansing, and the terror attacks in Europe and United States as well, are now being presented as the legitimate partners of a so-called new Syria. They are the same forces that attacked Paris, Brussels, Berlin, London, and New York. And they're not a regional problem. Very clear that it is a global threat that we should all be waked up about this issue. The Kurdish people have the right to self-determination, but our most minimal demand is to live in a decentralized democratic system in the countries where we have already exist. This is our right. We are 60 million people, and it's our ancient country. That's why the imprisoned Kurdish leader, Mr. Abdullah Öcalan, who has been imprisoned for 27 years, declared a peace manifesto on last February and dissolved the armed struggle organization for opening a door on the democratic negotiation, leading in Turkey and Syria and Iraq and Iran as well. Thus, the Kurds, with all its their diversified groups, may able to live freely and in their homeland, the land of the Kurdistan, even without touching the official borders and the states. As you know, the Kurds have been forcibly divided and colonized across Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Syria since the Sykes-Picot deal in 1916. In Iraq now, we do have the Kurds have a limited autonomy, a federation, which was emerged just after the fall of Ba'athist regime in 2004, the Saddam regime. In Syria, our Kurdish self-administration survived for last about 15 years. But it is, since that time up to now, always it remained under an existential threat in the power of vacuum of Assad regime. Today, these achievements of the Kurds, which is an oasis-like region in a dry desert, like just dear Ilaria has already underlined, with its all pluralistic, ecologically, genderly free, and anti-patriarchal, a direct democracy with its local councils, actually is pioneering the very principle of diversity in unity approach of a real democracy, which we have been calling it Democratic Confederalism, is now under an existential threat from this so-called the new Syria, who have been celebrated, recognized by our dear representatives and our governors in EU Commission and Council of Europe. This is in no way acceptable. Defending Rojava is the red line of the Kurdish people. All the young souls of the Kurdish people are now ready to dedicate their souls in the line of what they have inherited from their martyrs. To end with, I would say that in all four parts of Kurdistan, millions of people now are in the squares. They have been protesting this duplicity of the Western power structure. It cannot, in this way, never be accepted. That's why we are here today. Even the women have been braiding their hairs symbolically in order to raise awareness about how this Syrian government can be the same with ISIS had done against the Kurdish women. And for defending this women-led revolution, very respectful audience, these are our demands. I'd like to just shortly share with you. As Kurdistan National Congress, we urgently call for an immediate and internationally monitored ceasefire, and sending the delegations of politicians, journalists, activists into Rojava, is establishing a kind of a political shield against a prospect offensive and storm by Syrian government. 3, the lifting of all siege and permanent humanitarian corridors, especially to Kobani, a renewed political process recognizing Kurdish self-governance within a decentralized Syria as the 4th demand. And 5th, like just Ilaria told, the freezing of the 620 million euro aid to Syria, which will be the biggest and the concrete shame on behalf of the European Commission to given this government. I'd like to kindly ask you to pressure on your governments and to please expose the economic and migration deals of EU governments made at the expense of the Kurdish lives and automatically on behalf of the against of the regressive groups. Silence today will be paid for tomorrow by Kurds, by Syrians, by Europe itself. Thank you very much. Let we defend Rojava, save Rojava, long live international solidarity.
Thank you very much, Sinan. Since it's already quite late, I would ask the speakers not to make interventions too long because there are still a lot of speakers who have to take the floor. Now I give the floor to Per Clausen, MEP from Enhedslisten and chair of the Kurdish Friendship Group.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be together with you because what's happening in Rojava is beyond comprehension. It's a textbook example of how the great powers betray the people who have gone through fire to defend human dignity and democracy. Rojava has been a thorn in the side of autocrats and jihadists across the region. Tragically, the regime in Damascus has short-circuited all negotiations about Syria's future through brutal attacks on civilians and on the Rojava administration. This is happening with the direct support or the deafening silence of the world's major powers. Let me be clear, there is no ceasefire. There is a constant attacks on Rojava. Militias operating on a government command are abusing civilians and driving tens of thousands from their homes. This cannot be right. We must all act and pressure the international community to intervene and stop these atrocities against minorities. The European Union must suspend all promised assistance to the regime until these attacks cease, and they must cease now. Aid can be resumed only when genuine negotiations for a peaceful and democratic system are restarted. The regime in Damascus must also act against the Turkish-backed militias that are ravaging Kobani and Afrin. The EU must use every diplomatic tool at its disposal to pressure not only the Damascus regime, but also the Turkish state to end the attacks on the Kurds and on Rojava. Right now, this is about stopping the massacre of civilians and ending the abuse of detainees, especially women who are being punished for their role in the fight against ISIS. Sadly, the great powers are playing a destructive role at this moment. Therefore, the rest of us must do everything in our power to bring about a real ceasefire and to reopen the path to genuine negotiations about a democratic Syria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Per. Now I introduce Rwaida Al-Harfoush, representative of the Druse.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. My name is Rwaida Al-Harfoush, and I'm a feminist and politician from the city of Rwaida. I never imagined that one day I would introduce myself as anything other than Syrian. But today, after what has happened to my family and relatives in the city of Rwaida and its countryside, I find myself saying that I am from Druse. I am Druse. Speaking about Druse in Syria today means speaking about a community that is subjected to a grave and ongoing violations that cannot be ignored or justified under any pretext. During the past month of July, the Druze in Syria were subjected to massacres that claimed the lives of thousands of civilians. Dozens of villages were invaded, burned, and their residents forcibly displaced. Those who managed to escape the massacre without any genuine path toward accountability or justice. To this day, those responsible for these crimes have not been brought to trial, which has enriched a climate of impunity and opened the door to the repetition of violations. In addition, more than 8,000 male and female university students have been deprived of their right to higher education due to inciting sectarian discourse and direct attacks against them inside universities, without holding the perpetrators accountable and without taking any measures to protect their right to education. The total number of students deprived of education today is estimated at 23,000 male and female students across preparatory, secondary, and university levels. This deprivation is not incidental. It's a direct result of sectarian incitement, including incitement issued by official media outlets. Nor can we ignore the pile of sexual violence committed by security forces that stormed the city, as well as the kidnapped and detained individuals, including children who remain in detention to this day, despite confirmed information that they are held in Adra prison. The authorities have not acknowledged their detention, and there is also no clear legal framework for their arrest. On the humanitarian and living level, thank you. The people of Rwaida are living under harsh conditions: electricity cuts, lack of communication services, and the collapse of basic services. Despite this, the area continues to be subjected to shelling and repeated violations of the ceasefire. Just yesterday, random artillery shells fell on Rwaida, and drones were flying over the area, posing a direct threat to civilian women and men. In light of this reality, the people of Rwaida have lost the trust in this authority and are demanding federalism as a peaceful political option. This is despite the extent of a petition signed by the people of Rwaida demanding the right to self-determination, with the aim of protecting civilians, ensuring the management of their local affairs, and preventing the recurrence of the massacres and violations against them. Stability or peace cannot be achieved without holding those responsible for massacres accountable under the international supervision, because it is unacceptable for the authority to be both adversary and the judge at the same time. We have already witnessed clear injustice in the report of the Special Investigative Committee on the coastal massacres. Nor can stability be achieved without stopping sectarian incitement, prosecuting those responsible for it, and ensuring the protection of civilians from shelling and violations. I would like also to draw attention to the suffering of the heroic city of Kobani, which defeated ISIS and became a legend through its victory over it, only for ISIS to now, or until now, be allowed to return and besiege it once again. Its people are suffering just as the people of Rwaida suffered from the suffocating siege imposed on extremists or imposed by extremists. Just days ago, 4 children died from cold and hunger, and massacre was committed in Kharab al-Shik, aimed or amid IDEA denial and deployment of soldiers to obscure the tragic reality there. We issue an urgent call: save Kobani, don't abandon it, do not abandon the Syrian Democratic Forces. Syria will be broken in the face of extremists' expansion, and with it all democratic forces in Syria will be broken. I remember when security forces entered Rwaida and asked civilians, "Are you Druse or Sunni?" The same question that was repeated on the coast, "Are you Alawi or Sunni?" Because if he is Sunni, they will not kill, but if he is Durzi or she is Durzi, we will kill. Same for Alawis, and now they are asking the same questions for people in Al Jazeera, for Kurds in Syria. Are you Arabic or Kurdish? To know if they will kill them or not. I ask myself, how can a stable state be built with such practices? My message to the international community: we understand your interest, but stability cannot be built on destruction. With this extremist authority in power, there is no salvation for the Syria that we know or we dream of. I affirm that Syria has not been liberated. It is instead heading toward Islamization and religious extremism, unless international resolutions are implemented and a genuine political transition is achieved based on spirit of UN Security Council Resolution 2254 and Resolution 2799 to build a constitution that guarantees the right for all and ensure true participation for all components of Syrian security. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rwaida. Now I give the floor to Mary Powers from Peace and Justice.
Thank you. And thank you once again to the MEPs that organized today's meeting. Really, it's crucial, and it's been an amazing opportunity to bring together different voices on this topic to talk about the importance of standing in solidarity with the Kurdish people in Rojava in northeastern Syria. I will keep it very short, as I know we're already running late. And I just want to say that truly we are living through a decisive moment. I think this is a phrase that gets used a lot, but to recognize the importance of the moment that we are in. As one of our colleagues said, we are seeing the emergence, or living in a time of two competing political projects. One that is based on the recognition rights of minorities, of local democracy, of democratic confederalism, of women's liberation, and another that seeks to take away many of these basic principles. No, one that is grounded in a denial of all of these things, one that is represented in a centralized state, a fundamentalist approach that is very much contrary to actually the the ethnic, the political, the religious makeup of the region itself, and denying this reality in a very aggressive way. One thing that I think is important to note is that the attacks that we see on Rojava and northeastern Syria at the moment are existential in nature. No, we're talking about communities that have been in resistance for 15 years and longer. Communities that have put up a struggle not only for the defense of this territory, but against forces of ISIS, forces that threaten the world more broadly speaking. And so what is at risk now is these communities themselves, but also the continuation of the struggle of democratic confederalism and an insistence on the possibility for a different way of living, one that is not bound up in the crisis that we find ourselves embroiled in Europe of nation states, of capitalism, and all of these things. And I think in Europe here, we have a very specific responsibility also. No, the colleagues mentioned how on the day where the heaviest fighting was happening in Aleppo against civilian neighborhoods, where you had forces affiliated with the central government shelling civilian areas, hospitals, places where there were children, schools. You have Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the commission, going and speaking with al-Shara and promising 620 million euros and a political partnership. And so for us that are here in Europe, there's a responsibility there. No, of seeing how we, in our local contexts, we organize and support, how we put pressure on our governments from the local level to the European level to be able to be a voice against this. No, to stand in solidarity with Kurds in Rojava and throughout the broader region, and to play our part within this. No, and it's something that, of course, happens in many different ways at the same time, whether it's in grassroots organizing, whether it's supporting in organizing humanitarian assistance, as we see that there's a massive humanitarian crisis also unfolding. It's something where we can all play our part, I think, in a way. And it's something that I would invite all of us here to leave this meeting today with this conviction, to say, okay, how do we take this from a space of discussion towards action and defend this revolution that has been going on now for so long in Rojava, and to stand in solidarity with the Kurds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marie. Now we need to make a small change of seats because we didn't have enough place here on the stage for all the speakers. So I call here on the stage Maysoon Majidi, Maria Edgarda Marcucci, e Ludovica Intellisano. So now I give the floor to Maysoon Majidi, political refugee in Italy and from Associazione Tradita.
My name is Maysoon Majidi. At the moment, I'm a political refugee. I spent 302 days in Italian prisons, accused of something that was never proven, giving water and food to refugees at sea. I'm not saying this to speak about a personal injustice. I say it because I understood what happens when law is enforced without injustice. And politics makes decisions without accountability. This is how legal violence is produced. I come from Kurdistan, a land not divided by civil war, but by political decisions, divided into 4 parts. And today, I stand here with 2 wounded wings, left and right, from Rojava to Rojava. Today I brought 3 files with me. The first file contains all reports and documentation of human rights violations, from execution and torture to genocide and sexual violence, from internet shutdowns and communication blackouts to systematic repression. These documents grow every day. This file is too heavy to be opened in the time of the meeting. Not because it is unimportant, but because these crimes have been documented for years and are known to everyone. The second file concerns systematic project of structural interests, oil, water, internet, technology, weapons. This is where real politics takes place, but this file is classified. We do not have access to it, and we are not allowed to have access to it. The third file is the Kurdish case, a case that is no longer only the subject of human rights reports, but one that has been actively kept in suspension within decision-making institution for years. Kurdish question, status pending. Well, everything is known. When reports exist, when analysis exists, when experience exists. This file is now on your table in the European Parliament. I know that many of you agree with what I'm saying. I know these facts are not new to you. I open the file. Let us look at the results. This is the result of suspension. Suspension is a political choice. Violence does not always come with bombs. Sometimes it comes with the absence of a vote. Closing this file means continuing the suspension. Opening it means taking responsibility.
Thank you very much, Maysoon. Now I introduce Ludovica Intellisano from the Academy of Democratic Modernity.
Hello to everyone. I will try to be really short and also to do my best with English. That is not properly my second language. I'm Ludovica and I speak today here for the Academy of Democratic Modernity, which normally is focused on spreading the paradigm of democratic modernity envisioned by Abdullah Öcalan from the prison island of Imrali, where he is from 1999, through seminars, meeting, education. and also to produce and collect different analysis about the global situation on the website when you can find everything. This is just to introduce briefly, but I will not take more time from the main point of my speech. Before to start, I really want to greet the friend that organized this meeting, because the situation is really, really urgent. It's really important to take the initiative in all the way that we can, and also this is an important point of the solidarity and of the mobilization that we are seeing in all the Europe, but also in all the world on supporting the revolution in Rojava. Until a few days ago, I was in the territory of Rojava. I was in the territory of the autonomous democratic administration of northern Syria, and I saw the war started. Already, a lot of friends talk and explain now is the situation that Kobani is totally under siege in this moment. There is no water, no electricity, and just yesterday, some humanitarian help was able to enter in the city. But the situation is of continuation of attack on the city of Kobani, but also on the city of Kamishlo and Eseke. And at this point, I was said also before, it's clear there is no ceasefire. That is all the ceasefire that have been announced by the so-called Syrian transitional government are basically not true. Today is really important to act and really to act in all the way that we find possible. In this week, a lot of people in Italy take the streets and demonstrate in solidarity of the revolution, but also in this moment, it is a caravan of hundreds of people that is crossing Europe and is near to arrive to the border in between Bakur and Rojava, trying to cross this border and enter in Bakur. How a lot of people are trying to do in the next week. I will try to go in the center to don't repeat the information. As internationalism, what I want to underline and what I think that is really important is that beyond the side of this revolution and fight also for this revolution is not just related to the fact that is itself really really bad, that there is another genocide that is ongoing in this territory with horrible violation of this territory and of the life of all the people. But what is happening in this moment is Rojava is the clash between two mentality, two world wives, between barbarism and freedom. Rojava today is not that itself is not a small feat and just a representation of a self-organized society, a society when the women fight for their freedom and are really in the center of the social organization. But Rojava today is really the light for all humanity, and is something that reminds us that it's possible to live in another way, that it's possible to live out of the dictates of the capitalistic modernity. And we are saying in these days also that the mentality that who is carrying on the attack on the territory of the autonomous administration is a mentality that we saw already in the Islamic State. We saw the videos of fighters, of Asaish fighter, internal security forces that has been thrown down from the second layer of the building. We have seen a statue of the YPG fighter that have been put down in the city of Tabqa and destroyed. We already saw this in the hands of Islamic State, and this is happening another time. And this is happening because this statue and this the body of this fighter are symbols of what they want to destroy. They want to destroy women that are able to fight, to defend themselves, and that are organized. a revolutionary from the Kurdish freedom movement, Nagihan Karsel, that has been assassinated by the Turkish state in Sulemania, outside their home, said that the power feeds mainly on the lack of memory. And today, that is the day after the 11th anniversary of the liberation of Kobane, we have to take with us this memory. There is a really beautiful video that touched me a lot when a fighter announced that Kobane is finally free, that Kobane is proud. And this pride we can see all the days that we cross the street of Kobane is the pride of the people that really fought to defend themselves from the abuses of the Islamic State, but that they fight also for defend us from the attack of the Islamic States, and that gave more than 12,000 lives in this war. And during the siege and the liberation of Kobane, the international solidarity has been enormous. It has been not just YPG and YPG fighters to liberate and defeat ISIS in Kobane, but also the broad and moral support from all the society, all the democratic forces and socialistic forces around the world. And this is what we need also today. We need to do the same, and we need to do more. The idea of democratic nation that at this moment is ongoing in the territory of the autonomous administration is based on peaceful and democratic coexistence between culture, ethnicity, and religions, and is also a solution for us. It's a solution for us that we live in Europe, where the racism is increasing every day, and also where the far right is increasing every day. This revolution is not a revolution for the people that live in Rojava, in Syria, and in the Middle East, but it's also a revolution for us, for our people, and it's really how we should hope that also our people can live. I will just add the last point and close. When I was coming back from Rojava, it was really the hours where Mazlum Abdi was declaring that there was no possibility of negotiation with the transitional government. And I saw a lot of sensationalistic title about this betrayal of cards, this card that been betrayed. But this is something that we have to change as rhetoric, because I didn't find one single person I spoke to that was really deeply disappointment about the behavior of USA and of European Union, because there was no a deep trust about these forces, and the only trust that these people really feel is about other people that are fighting on their side. And this is the part that is up to us. It's up to us to think that we are another front line, that when we are here and discuss about what is happening, when we are in the street, when we join a caravan that is crossing the Europe, we are not far away from who is fighting in the front line with different ways, but we are another part of the front line, because it's in our countries that the weapons that are attacking YPG and Syrian Democratic Forces are built, because the Italian state has an embassy in Damascus, and because some months ago Giorgia Meloni and Tajani, they declared openly that they will be part of the reconstruction of the Syria, and also proposing Italy as a bridge between Europe and Syria. This is to change. This is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to say clearly that the people support this revolution and don't support a transitional government that are led by jihadists. And as the people that are resisting now in the street, defending street by street their own city in really difficult condition, as they say and as they are showing to us, there is no other way than victory, and we have also to share this spirit and also act according to this spirit. Thank you for this moment, and I leave the...
Thank you, Ludovica. And now Maria Edgarda Marcucci, activist and writer.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us here and for organizing this moment. It's very important. I prepared a speech, but I would leave it and just try to interact with what was said, because a lot of also datas were given, and I don't think it's needed to repeat. It's really needed that we sign up the numbers, like we note them down and repeat them outside of here. So when in my early 20s, the worst enemy of the world was Islamic State, Daesh, and it wasn't enough for Syrian and Iraqi people to die for us to realize what was happening. It happened that we realized that when their death arrived also in Europe, and I think this is already shameful. But when finally the western part of the world realized what was happening, they found themselves very surprised. Who are we going to fight with? They thought no one was on the ground opposing this force. Iraqi army was defeated. Syrian army was defeated. Who's going to oppose Daesh? Who's going to help everyone stop this humanity and this enemy of humanity? There was someone already actually fighting ISIS since quite some years. And these people were Yekitiya Palestinajin, Yekitiya Palestinagal, Yepege and Yepege, Kurdish forces in the beginning, because quite early in the very beginning of democratic autonomy, this didn't become just a matter of Kurds. This became a matter of also of the free people of Syria, Muslim people of Syria, Arab people of Syria that didn't want their religion, their culture, their language, disrupted by Daesh philosophy, by ISIS philosophy. So Democratic Confederalism became a project for the whole people of Syria. There were Druse, there was a women representing Druse community. I think we read and heard what happened to a Leviti community. I mean, all Syria. Syria is not just one people. It's not nor just Kurdish, nor just Arabs, nor just Druze. It's all of them, as every other country has a plurality of identities. So when we finally realized that someone was actually already doing what we realized that needed to be done, then we supported the Yepege and Yepege. And then the so-called international-led, US-led coalition, I said so-called because we know who was on the ground, who gave their lives. It's different. There's a big difference to give weapons or to give your people. And SDF, they gave their people. I want to underline this because the leading of imperialism, that's what it is. It's just, there's no actual involvement. They don't even bother to come in person to destroy a country. They just send people to do that. So in 2017, I was still in my 20s, and it was quite some years that Daesh was seemed actually undefeatable. And the only victory we were having were thanks to the Arab, the Syrians, the Kurdish, the Alevis, all the people that joined SDF. So me as an internationalist, I realized that there was more behind the curtain of the war and the destruction of the war. There was Democratic Confederalism as a political system, a political option, a better one even than liberal states, because what happened in my experience is that I was really curious about this. I was really, really interested in this kind of proposal. So I traveled there. And then I had the occasion to join a journalistic delegation. But then I realized what was happening was our own problem, not just because of the defeating of Daesh that was killing all over the world, but also for a better word. Me as a woman, I had more freedom in Democratic Confederalism in Syria than I have in Italy, where I come from, than I have in this European Parliament. And this has to be clear. This must be clear. Because why are we not speaking about the women of Syria right now? Because they are not the object of our Orientalistic fantasies that we can go and save. They are their own people. They fought for what they have now, and they won't be open for a white savior to come. They're building their own future. And why can't we help them? Because we never wanted them to do that. We never wanted Syrian people to be safe. And when I say we, I speak in this parliament, which do not represent me. I'm not here speaking for the people representing or badly representing countries in this institution. I speak in the hope that the youth of those countries will listen, that societies of those countries will listen. I don't need any more proof that this parliament is useless. I had my first proof when I joined YPG, and I took part in the armed fight against Daesh. And then when SDF asked for international tribunal for the militias of ISIS, all Europe was silent. No one answered. And they said it so loudly. So it's not possible that no one listened. I lost any other hope when I said in 2019, I saw a brutal invasion from Erdogan, and Europe was silent again, was defending the second army of NATO, was actually in that project of invasion. NATO forces were there. And then in the last years, I saw this institution unable to do anything, any single thing for Palestinian people. Why would I believe that they would do something now? I do not believe that. I really hope that the words of the people before me were effective. I really hope that politicians in here will listen to them. And I will be ready to be joyful in the case that that happens. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think it will happen. I sit before you very ashamed, so ashamed, and not just sad, really ashamed to be part of, or to be represented so badly by such an institution. We're talking about people that are inside wars, but the ashes of civilization are in this building. So what I'm here for is, again, to address the fact that I think, as Ludovica said before, that only lies that the values of democratic confederalism, the only lies that democratic confederalism has, it's the people. Because when European states, European Parliament or US or whomever will tell us that Syria is a safe place now, they are not trustworthy, but not just because of Al-Shara or Jolani, whatever he makes him call himself, because European states started to repatriate Syrian people in 2020. It was still Assad, the same Assad that they fed Daesh to make him fall. And then right after that, still Assad governing Syria, Denmark government, Germany government, all European government tried to repatriate Syrian people. Now Al-Shara is the safe one. We don't believe you anymore. This is lying. This is because you want money and oil. This is because of your power. There's not a trace of interest of Syrian people in your agendas. But you don't even care about European people. So I'm really not surprised that you can't feel Syrian people. What I really want to address in here, and what I really wish to happen after this, is that other people will hear, Kurdish people, Syrian people, Alevi people, Druse people, all over the world. It's not a matter of just Kurdish. Why we say Kurdish question is a symbol, because it represents other minorities also. It's not a matter of ethnic freedom. It's a matter of freedom for everyone. So I really do know, I do not want to live in a world in which Israel, Turkey, and US and European agenda aligns together to kill people all over the world. I want to live in a world that will scream out loud from Iran, going through Kurdistan, arriving here, Jinjiana Zadi.
So thank you, and thank you to all the speakers, because it was very important to listen to your words today, to listen to your words here inside this house. And now, unfortunately, we have a very short time left, because at 9 o'clock, we have to leave the room. So now I open the floor if there are questions or for an exchange of view, but unfortunately we have just maximum 10 minutes for this.
Hello, thank you for this very relevant interventions at this very relevant time. I just have a very quick question to just two of all the panelists. We heard earlier from a representative from the Druse, from Rwaida, and also from someone from Rojava in Eastern Kurdistan, and I wanted to know what just you two think about in your countries and for your people and on behalf of your people on the involvement of Israel. That was my question.
Okay, Israel helped my people in Rwaida during the massacres were like that were going on. There was no any like country could help them other than Israel. So before we were not supporting Israel, but like during the massacres, they saw that only Israel who could stop the fighting and the bombing in Rwaida. Because of that, now they're calling Israel, but before it was not this case. And still, like, I am Druse, but I cannot speak in the name of like the people in Rwaida. Some people, they say that Israel may save, but some people, they're calling for like changing this authority and like do another revolution. I don't know, like applying the international resolution and like interfere of the international community to save people in Rwaida. Because of that, it's still not clear about the like relation with Israel, how it is. Thank you.
Okay, so if there are any other questions or comments?
Yeah, could I or?
Who is the second one? We don't have anybody directly from Rojava here. It's Iran. If you ask the Kurdish Congress, okay, maybe, but okay. I haven't. Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going to speak a little bit about Rojava, the part that I am from. I believe in addition to Rojava, which is very important to get addition, I will have put some addition to the Rojava case. We know during the last movement in Iran, which thousands of people have been killed. We know that in Rojava also hundreds of people have been killed, and the government systematically hiding the statistic and data. We know in the cities and the provinces of Kermanshah and Elam, hundreds of people have been killed. tens of thousands of Rojava people, Kurds in Iran, are in jail currently, and thousands of people have been injured. Hundreds of people has lost their eyes because the government use bird guns, or what do you call it, to injure people. So it's very important that all of you and the European Parliament put some recognition to the case in Rojava as well, which currently between 10 and 12 million Kurds living in Iran. So I will not take the recognition from Rojava, which is very important. All our hearts are with the Kurds in Rojava, but Rojava is also important. That's all I should say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or interventions?
Hello. So thank you very much for hosting this very interesting and relevant event. So my question was directed to the MEPs present here. So I wanted to know. Okay, you hear me now? Yes, if there are any. Okay.
Just one time press on it.
Okay, sorry, I didn't understand. Yeah, if you had any parliamentary initiatives coming up to shed light on the situation in Rojava and to demand action from the EU institutions. Thank you.
Well, it's we are thinking about this just in these days. So of course we will keep you updated about any parliamentary things that are going to happen. Of course, we would like to have a debate on the situation in northeast of Syria in the next plenary, but we have to see if this will happen or not, because it doesn't depend only from us.
Just to add on it, we had last week the Strasbourg week, and it was like this, that the other groups absolutely had been silent about what is happening in Syria. And we had a few speeches of our group, and we tried to mention, but we didn't have any debate on what was happening in Aleppo or then actually before Kobani. But we will ask for urgency for the persons here who don't know how the European Parliament works. It's like this, that all the group of this parliament have to agree that we will get an urgency, or have to agree that we will get a debate on it. We will fight for it as a left. I can say it clearly. It's clear that we will do it, but we don't know how the other parties and groups will have a position. To be honest, in the past it was like this, that we could work on Rojava internationally, interfractionally with other groups. But now the states politics and the geopolitics of the European Union is getting on a cruel point, and they are not working like they worked before, and they're just saying the world isn't changing, and we have to look where our position in this world is. And when we look on Syria, the honest point is that for the European Union, they want to go back on the table on the negotiations and rebuilding of Middle East, you know. And for this, they want to work together with Al-Sharaa. They want to work together closer again with Turkey and other countries. So they are looking for it. But we will work for it, because we know that there are parliamentarian people here who are by heart really believing in human rights or women's rights. So we can't promise it, but we will work for it.
Okay, so it's 9 o'clock just now, and so thank you again to you all for being here, and thank you very much again to all the speakers. And we have to close now this event.